Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the latest episode of the Hard Compound Live. This is the 49th episode of the Hard Compound Live. In fact, apologies, we're running a bit late. A few minor sound issues at both ends here, but we're all good. Normally, I'd do a huge, long, rambling intro here, but I'm not going to because we're running late. My name is Rich. I run and operate the Hard Compound. We're a one-stop shop for all things motorsport: four wheels, two wheels, open wheels, ovals, road, street, rallying, anything you like. We try and cover everything in the form of like race previews, race reviews, race throwbacks, little discussions. We do competitions, and we provide online support for some of the best young motor racing drivers in the UK and Ireland on four wheels and two wheels. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're also on YouTube. On the first three social media ones I mentioned, just search at the Hard Compound and you'll find us. And on YouTube, search for the Hard Compound, 3 words, and you will find us on there as well. These live interviews that we do, they are, of course, live, and they are automatically saved on our Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube channels. If you're on Facebook, head to the videos section on facebook.com/the Hard Compound, and you'll see all the interviews we've had in the past. We've spoken to some racers from the British Touring Car Championship, the World Touring Car Championship, the likes of Andy Priya, Gabriele Tarquini, Rickard Rydell. We've spoken to Dick Bennett, the boss of West Surrey Racing, the guy credited with launching Ayrton Senna's career, and also that of Mecca Hakkinen, Eddie Irvine, Rubens Barrichello, and the like. We've had some guys from the two-wheeled world on. Just last week, we spoke to our first NASCAR driver. That was the very engaging Miss Natalie Decker. And from the IndyCar world, we've had the honour and the privilege of speaking with Mario Andretti. We've spoken to Danny Sullivan, Ari Leindijk, Mr. Willie T. Ribbs. We've spoken to Stefan Johansson, J.R. Hildebrand. We spoke to Brian Herter. We've had David Brabham on as well. And we've spoken to the reigning IndyCar champion, Alex Palou, just 2 or 3 weeks ago. So they're all saved. Go and check them out if that all sounds good, and give us a follow. But don't check them out just yet, because we have another guest, an IndyCar guest, and it's one that I'm particularly excited about because if anyone has tuned in before, I'm a huge fan of IndyCar. I'm also a huge fan of the Penske team, and we've got one of their drivers, which is very exciting for me. He's an IndyCar champion, an Indy 500 winner, and one of the best characters on the entire grid. He's been doing it for a while, and he's got some great stories. So we're going to bring him in right now. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Will Power.
Hello.
There he is. Mr. Power, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
No, thank you very much for coming on. And apologies for the sound issues there, but it looks as though we're sorted.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I hear you. No problem at all. It's good.
No, good stuff. Good stuff. Firstly, thank you very, very much for coming on and having a chat with us. Very much appreciated. As I said in the intro there, I'm a big fan of Penske, so to have you on, it's very cool to speak to you. So thank you very much for sparing your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I look forward to it.
No, good stuff. Right. Well, obviously, I just want to say hello to the people in the comments who have come in so far. We've got Thomas Day, Carol Reed, Nick Hunt, Jim Clark fan. Good name. Johnny O'Neill, Billy Edgerton, and all the others. Thank you very much, guys. If you want to put a question in, we'll try and come to them as quickly as we can. It may well be covered in what we're going to talk about anyway, but put it in there. And if you want to let us know where you're tuning in from as well, that'd be pretty cool. So, Will, what we generally want to do, we just have a bit of a run through your career, nice informal chat, and just throw some stories in, and anything goes really. We're not snobby British stiff upper lip types, so we're all good.
Stiff upper lip.
That ain't gonna happen.
Well,
we keep it nice and relaxed. It's all good.
That's good.
But what I'd like to do at the start is like start from the start, really. How did you first get involved in motorsports? Obviously, you grew up in Australia, and I've Googled your hometown. It doesn't look like a real hotbed of motorsport, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, no, actually, it is. It does. It was a lot of people. It was sprint car racing. I raced dirt track there myself, which was like dirt track road courses. There's karting. yeah, there's quite a few drivers from Toowoomba. Quite a few drivers in all the various motorsport disciplines you can do, including motocross. So my father raced open wheel cars, and that's how my interest in open wheel racing came about as a little kid, watching him work on his Formula 2 car, which was actually the same. It was an RT3 Rolt, so it was the same as Senna drove, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah. And actually, I recently saw it online for sale. I should have bought it. Someone else bought it. Should have bought that car. My dad's restored it to its original state. But so he raced Formula 2. And so, I was a little kid around the garage, just absolutely loved open wheel racing in Formula 1. Used to sit up and watch the Grand Prix with him when they'd be on in the early hours of the morning. And I have 3 brothers, so I got 2 older brothers, 1 younger brother, and the next oldest brother to me was, we used to, him and I were really into it. We were into racing. He'd push me around in the car all day and pretending I was, Ayrton Senna or Nelson Piquet was my favorite F1 driver. So,
right. Okay.
Yeah, it's something that's all I wanted to do from when I was a kid. It's nuts. It was like the childhood dream actually came true. I actually ended up doing what I wanted to do when I was a little kid.
Wow. That's cool.
But that was the beginnings of my interest in motorsport, was just, what my father did.
And just like being around it and being involved with it.
Yeah. And he wasn't a professional. He worked, he had a business. So he used to prep all his own stuff, build his own engines, the whole thing, tied to the track. So he never, got to that point. He could have been, but he had he had his own business to run and 4 kids. And so it was pretty hectic for him.
Wow. I've got 2 kids and that's enough. So
yeah, I got 1 and that's enough. I just came back from Disney World, so
cool.
If you want to know what stressful is, take more than 1 kid to Disney World. Like 1 kid was like, that was like, oh my God. It's no stress when you just go with your wife because you're patient in lines and but with a kid, hungry, tired, not patient, all the things. It's great though. My kid not scared.
That just sounds like me.
Anything. That's but kid, I mean, my kid is scared of anything. You put him on the most crazy roller coaster. He's 4 years old, and nothing bothers him, which is interesting because there's things like that I would have been scared as a kid. I'm sure. He just isn't. Yeah, I don't know if it's because he's never been hurt or something.
It's like when you get a broken arm or something, and you think, that's when it starts to.
Yeah, you go, this can hurt.
Yeah, maybe not. I think my 2 might want to go there one day.
Yeah. That'll be a big trip.
yeah, we'll see. Excuse me. So obviously your dad's there and he's doing his racing and stuff. When did you first think this is something I want to do? Was it from as far back as you can imagine, or was it just?
As early as I can remember, that's all I wanted to do. As early as I can remember, I absolutely loved open wheel racing. Absolutely loved it. So it was, just in me from, I can't remember the one thing that sparked it, but it's probably the first time I saw a race car. I saw my dad drive a race car or saw the race car down in the garage. So that's my wife just walking back and forth. She waits to do work until I'm on a podcast usually. Okay, I'm in trouble already.
No,
but,
sorry.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. No, my wife's not feeling well. She's in bed, so it works for me.
Yeah.
Caring, attentive husband, clearly. But no, so did you ever go down the karting route, or did you just go straight into whatever he was?
No, I race karts. My dad got us into go-karts. When I was about 6 years old, he put us in go-karts, and I raced go-karts. I remember it was racing when I was 12, 13. Then when I was about 14 or 15, I did some dirt track stuff. And then 17 was the first time I ever drove an open wheel car. It was a Formula Ford at Lakeside in Brisbane in Australia there. And that was amazing, an amazing experience. I do remember that. I remember thinking, man, after seeing all those onboards of, Formula One cars and the wheel with all the feedback over curbs. Yeah, and I got in a Formula Ford for the first time, and how it was a dog box, so the gear you just have a little lift and it just slips in. It's just an amazing feel. I remember going, and Lakeside was like one of the highest, a very high average speed. It's like Brands Hatch, basically, a very similar track. Right. And it just, oh man, I just thought I can do this. I just want to do this for a living. It's so cool. Which we didn't take it. That was definitely a moment where I thought how awesome it was to drive an open wheel car, a purpose-built race car. That was my first experience of that, and that was really, really, really cool. I didn't actually take it seriously for quite a while until the year. I'm trying to think about that might have been in 97. It wasn't until I just did a little bit of club racing and never full time, just on and off. And then in 2000, I drove for a Spectrum Australian built Formula Ford. It's like a factory team. That's when I took it really seriously and thought at that point in year 2000 is where I thought I could make a career out of this.
Okay.
Right. That's when I truly took it very seriously. I was like very fit and very focused and studied driving and read every book you could ever get on, driving fast. So that was really the beginning of everything.
And you really kind of hit it then. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, saying obviously you'd been, I've got a note here. You raced like a Datsun 1200 Queensland.
Yeah, on the dirt. Yeah.
That was the dirt thing. And then, but obviously you always had that kind of thought about wanting to get into the single seaters, as you said, and the open wheel and all that kind of thing. And I think you're the first person actually. You said that like Nelson Piquet was the guy that you looked up to. Everyone around that time, because we're actually the same age. You're slightly younger than me. You've done a bit more with your life than I have. And they all say like it was like Senna and Mansell and Prost, and I always think Piquet gets overlooked because he was obviously being in the UK. It was Mansell here, of course, but.
But that era of Formula One, all those names you just rattled off were all my heroes. All those names, I remember when I first met Keke Rosberg at Brands Hatch when we were doing the A1 GP thing. I think that was pretty cool. I met Niki Lauda there. All those names were such legends. It's just such absolute heroes of mine. And then racing against Nelson Piquet Jr. In British F3 was really cool as well. And seeing Nelson Piquet there, because he was my favorite driver. I don't know why he was when I was a kid. Maybe I liked the name or whatever. It's just I can't remember the reason, but that was my favorite driver because Niki Lauda was my older brother's favorite driver.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. That's why I've got a few of people from that era on here for a chat. I've spoken to like Derek Warwick and I've had like Stefan Johansson on, all those guys. And people are like, why are you talking to them? It's like, why wouldn't I? They're guys. They're the guys that I looked up to. So But when you made that sort of move up into the Formula Ford, and then obviously moving up through. A little bit later on into Formula Holden. Something that always comes up in these chats is the subject of like funding and backing or sponsorship or whatever you want to call it. And everyone I've spoken to, there's always and then I met so-and-so, and it kind of went from there. Was there anyone back then who kind of who put their hand in their pocket or backed you or gave you some free kit or something? Or because there's always someone. I find. Well,
I did the 2000. My dad really funded me in 2000 in Formula Ford, and that was in the Australian built Spectrum. I finished that year. I had a lot of potential, but just had a lot of bad results. Had a big crash and got a nasty concussion. So I can't remember if I missed a race, but it kind of ruined that season. But I came back the next year with it was actually an older car. It was the 94 Van Diemen, but it was converted into what they call the Stealth. And it was a guy who converted it. And I had a great year that year. I didn't, we did it all ourselves. We prepped the car, and we had a guy called Peter Verheyen come along and leased his engine. Because I was a mechanic myself, because I wasn't a mechanic by trade, but I was able to prep my own car, do all the engine changes, gear ratios, wheel ones, all that stuff, setups. I used to do that all myself. Then at the end of that 2001 season, I had nothing. I really was out of a ride. I remember saying to my girlfriend at the time, I just got to find a way to get some money to race Formula Holden. I got to, if I can just get the money to do that. And then I spoke to Graham Watts, and he called me and gave me a free test. And it was actually an awesome experience. The Formula Holden was a V6. It's faster than a Formula 3. It's a real beast of a car, and it's just such a great feeling driving that thing. The brakes, the downforce, big tires it was amazing. And so I was able to I actually used the money that one of my uncles died, left me like $70,000, and I used that to run that season in Formula Holden in 2002. During that season, I met a guy, his name was Bevan Carrick, and he had a Formula 3 car. He wanted me to test it and just, asking me to set it up for him because it wasn't handling well. So I did a test in that thing. Got it all right. He had the diff was too locked and a bunch of other stuff I did to get it working well. And then he said, well, I'll take you down and because there's a Formula 3 championship in Australia as well, and run you at Oran Park this weekend.
Right.
And I was like, next week, I think it was like a couple of weeks away. I said, yeah, sure. And so I did that, qualified on pole, won all the races, and it was in a 97 model, and everyone else had 2001 models.
Wow.
So, we were, super strong. I think I won that. Then I went to Wakefield Park and won all those races. So I was racing Formula Holden and Formula 3. And then I met some other people that in that Formula 3 paddock that then helped me go overseas and have my first test in England. And then that turned into finding a budget to go and race British Formula 3 in the Rolt. Everyone had Delaras. I had the Rolt. This was in 2003. After I'd done the season in Formula Holden and Formula 3 in Australia, I met people that helped me get over there. The Rolt was a disaster. It didn't have a teammate. It was, I think there wasn't enough. There was no other Rolts out there. I was the only Rolt out of 30 cars. So,
wow.
And that's when British F3 was very strong.
Yeah.
So halfway through that year, I missed a couple races in that season, then found some more funding to go with Fortec. First race in Fortec, I think I finished in the top 4, qualified right in the top 5, and was right on the pace. So I finished the season out with Fortec, got a really good deal, got some funding from the Australian Motorsport Foundation, and then the next year we ended up with Alan Docking. Didn't have a teammate. Was pretty quick on the front row quite a few times, I think, in qualifying. Just we're up against teams like Carlin that have multi-car teams, and you had a lot of information data to look at. So it was a pretty tough deal. I mean, it's just if you don't have the funding, you can't pick and choose where you go, right? You got to find someone to do a deal for you and give you, give you the testing, and which we didn't have. I mean, we couldn't do what some of these other guys were doing. We still did a pretty good job. I actually read the whole Dallara book because we were struggling. Read the Dallara book and went back to basics on setup because they, had this. They were running twin spring setup. It was too soft and it didn't bring the tires on quick enough. Kind of went as soon as we went to that, we started qualifying right at the front because we were struggling and testing a lot. Like our quickest lap would be like on our 20th lap or something.
Wow.
So I did that and got the
to get in.
diff and just did a bunch of, just went back to basics with that car. It was fast.
Yeah. No, fun. Just want to backtrack a little bit. Was it the, where was it? Was it the Aussie F3? Was it where you did the second half of the season and you only came second
Yes,
by a tiny little bit, and you
that's right.
you almost won it by only doing half a season?
Yeah. No, that's
That
right.
must have felt pretty good.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, it was, you know, I would say Australian Formula Ford was super competitive. It was as competitive as, you know, most stuff are the, you know, most Formula Ford series around the world at that level. Like
Right.
it was more competitive than that Formula 3 series. Formula 3, it had some good teams, but you know, yeah, if I'd started the season, I probably would have won the championship. We actually had a head gasket go at Phillip Island, so you know we really struggled there.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if I missed some straight. Yeah, really nice circuit. But yeah, that was a good season. That was a good year of a lot of driving of different stuff. I would say in 2000, 2001, and 2002, I did a lot of driving. Like I remember in 2000, one day I was testing a Formula Ford on Friday. I was karting on Saturday and then racing a dirt track 100 lapper on Sunday with all cars that I prepped myself and towed to the circuit myself.
Wow.
Towed my Formula Ford and then had a kart trail, which I'd prepped kart, towed it down to the Gold Coast and ran there, and then towed my dirt track car out to Mulmerran and raced there at a 100 lap race. Yeah. Wow. That was like, I think in 2000, I drove almost 52 weeks of the year.
Wow.
It's just, just a lot.
That's a lot of seat time. And it doesn't matter what you're driving, that's going to help. I mean, we spoke to Natalie Decker last week, the NASCAR race. And she said the same thing, she was in she was in stocks, and then she was doing something else, and then trucks, and it's all the valuable street time. Street time, seat time. That's a very good question that just popped up. Guy, Simon Steele, evening Simon. He says, do you think that the dirt racing helped you for IndyCar? Obviously, with the oval aspect of it, and obviously there's a lot of drivers come from the midget scene and all that. So.
Yeah, well, it actually wasn't dirt track ovals; it was road course ovals. Yeah, there was one track that was almost like you could say an oval. It was Echo Valley. It's actually the Toowoomba track, but you turned right instead of left. Right-hand oval, but. No, not really. I mean, it's just it's so specific to the discipline. Not in IndyCar.
Right.
Not in IndyCar. IndyCar is a very different animal to dirt track racing. Very different. Even the oval stuff, like NASCAR would be very relevant to racing a sprint car, I would say, because you drive a lot on the right rear. By the look of it, they can drive a lot. There's a lot more leeway for the car moving about. Right. An IndyCar on an oval, like you cannot drive it loose. You just can't. Like you'll hit the wall. Like loose, as in what you would call loose with opposite lock. If you have an opposite lock moment at Indianapolis or on an oval in IndyCar, like there's a 50-50 chance you'll end up in the wall. You won't be able to catch it. Yeah. It's just they have so much aero that as soon as the car's in yaw, it loses all that downforce.
Right.
So it's driven quite straight.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Apart from like Danny Sullivan, he had a bit of opposite lock and saved it, but that was a long time ago.
There's an example of what happens when you have a loose moment in a car. Like that's an example of what happens. But he amazingly kept it off the wall, kept going, won the race. Pretty cool.
I mean, we actually had Danny on back in, it was May, June time, and he said even now he still sometimes thinks, don't know how I got out of that. He just closed his eyes and was...
Yeah.
I think he said he opened his eyes, he was facing the turn 2 suites, and that was it. He was like, how did that happen?
I'm waiting for my turn to have something like that happen, where you're on an oval and you don't crash. I've hit the wall so many bloody times. And Yeah,
Well,
it's a
we
good
do one.
feeling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But no, cheers, Simon. Good question. Thank you. Another, just back to that kind of time. You're racing against like Will Davison, who's obviously gone on to, I think he's won Bathurst twice. He's still in the supercars. Was that a route that you would have considered going down? Because you raced at Bathurst once, didn't you? But
Yes.
was that ever on your radar, or was it just the love of single seat? Was more of a pull?
I that was just being a professional driver at that point. You would have taken anything.
Right.
Yeah, but open wheels was what I had done. I'd done Formula Ford. I'd raced Formula Holden, Formula 3, and it was just. But yes, the question is yes. I would have. There were multiple times where I thought I was heading home back to Australia, and would be looking for a V8, a supercar ride. So. Even when I was in IndyCar, those 3 years, I actually emailed Ross Stone with Stone Brothers Racing, with Marcus Ambrose won two championships for. Went back and forth. When they were looking for a drive at the end of 2008 because I didn't have anything, and I, ended up at Penske. But many times I was in that position where I would start looking for a ride in supercars. Yeah.
No, sure. No, cool. Just thoughts on Mount Panorama, because everyone who we've had on who's driven it, they just said it's an absolute beast / beauty of a track. I mean, we've had like John Cannon from the British Touring Cars. We've had him on, and like Steve Soper and like Derek Warwick and all these guys, and they've all driven it. They all love it. They've all said it's absolutely fantastic. Would you agree?
Absolutely, yeah. I would say it's fantastic for a touring car, like a supercar, something of that weight.
Yeah.
I think in an open wheel car, you'd just be wide open over the top. Either way, I mean, it's just an amazing track. Amazing track. And
it's just that drop off the skyline and then the left onto the Conrod straight. It just looks absolutely gloriously bonkers. It must just be the most amazing thing, that drop down then on the Conrod.
There's skyline where you go down, but then if you walk the track, you go down the Dipper. Like that's insanely steep. You can hardly walk on it.
Really?
But it's amazing track. I actually raced there in 2003. I raced with Larkham in the supercar in 2002. And then in 2003, I came back and raced the only 24-hour race they had there. And that was in a GT3 RS, a Porsche.
Nice.
And that was a really cool experience in the Porsche around there. I did the stint early in the morning. Remember it was in the dark. Then one lap, the sun just pops up as you're coming over skyline there.
Wow.
So it was a pretty, I finished that race. I mean, and thinking, man, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. It was pretty cool. They actually had a 24-hour race there. Yeah, they do a 12-hour there now in the GT cars, but I think they should do a 24-hour.
Agree.
Yeah,
agree with that. Definitely.
Oh, my wife's decorating for Christmas, so it just blows my mind that she actually does this. when I'm doing a podcast, it's like you could do upstairs,
That's a first. That's a first. That's good. We like firsts.
Decorating for Christmas.
Happy days.
Festive spirit. So
yeah. Good stuff.
Just to make it more real. That's why we're doing it.
Exactly.
Just to make this podcast more authentic.
The driver behind the driver, the life behind the track.
Oh, yeah. No, seriously. This is not the first time this has happened. Many times I've been on podcasts and my wife's like, it must be just like an alarm goes off. He's downstairs doing a podcast. Better get the vacuum out. Yeah.
No, good stuff. Love it. Just while we're talking tracks, you mentioned about Brands Hatch, and you obviously drove over here in the British F3, Thruxton, places like that. Brands Hatch is another one that always comes up. Again, even like Mario and like Danny Sullivan, Willie Rebs, and all these guys, they all love Brands Hatch, the GP circuit. Did you enjoy that circuit and the British tracks when you were over here in F3?
I love the British tracks. They're, most tracks that are built now are nothing like that. There are still some of those tracks over here, like Road America, Mid Ohio, where you come off, you come off, it hurts. You pay for it. There's no runoffs. Brands Hatch was like that. I had a big shunt there around the back, big shunt on that. You know how you go, on the Grand Prix circuit, you go up that hill, you go right, then you go right again on the downhill.
Yeah,
I dropped the wheel off there and went in backwards into that cement wall in the F3 car. No attenuator, just solid gear, but it actually broke the engine. And like, my back, man, it threw me back out in the circuit. I was just like, I raced the next day, which was insane, but man.
Wow. Yeah, that's I think that right-hander after the drop, Hawthorns, I think it's the fastest circuit on the track, I think.
Yeah, it's
especially backwards.
It's certainly a commitment track, like in every way. Yeah, that's kind of the cool thing of iRacing. You can go and race all those tracks these days. Like you can know every track that if it's on iRacing, it's being scanned. It's dead on. Wow. So you can go and race all the tracks that you dreamed of racing at. Yeah,
I mean. Another one actually that's just down the road from me. It's my nearest one. It's about an hour away. Is a circuit down at Thruxton, which is the one that I have driven. And I mean, I'm no racing driver. Although one of the guys down there said I should be, but I haven't got the money. Got 2 kids. Nope. I went around Thruxton in a Formula Palmer car, which is like Formula 4 and below it. And even then, I was in my helmet, just shouting my head off because it was just so quick round the back through church.
Oh man, I remember that. It's just wide open. That was a pretty epic circuit. I can't quite remember, but I should remember the exact track. But it was they should put that on iRacing.
Yeah,
it's a pretty cool track. They should scan that thing and put it on iRacing before it's gone. I don't know if it'll ever be gone, but yeah, that was pretty cool. That's typical British track.
Yeah, it's just
awesome circuit.
It's sort of like close your eyes, right foot down, and go. It's just it was awesome. Because the instructor said don't take church flat out, and on my final lap I had 6 laps, and on my last one I just went right, forget it, I'm doing it. If I end up going backwards, I've got to do this.
I can't remember his church. Is that when you're going down the hill? It's a long right-hander.
It's you go around right, and there's like a little bump, and it just drops off and goes round, and then you go up towards the chicane at the end.
One of the coolest tracks was Knock Hill.
Awesome.
Knock Knock Hill. Did you ever get to Knock Hill?
We love Knock Hill. Bonkers.
That's one of the most nuts, cool tracks you'd ever drive. Unbelievable. Yeah.
That little uphill left-right chicane thing.
Oh yeah.
Over crest.
And it has grasscrete on the stuff they call grasscrete, I guess. Yeah. A little like the inside of the curves, the kind of whatever that stuff is, a plastic. Yeah. A lot of grip there. A lot of grip.
A lot of grip on the other side of the white line.
Yeah.
Happy days. No, cool. No, it's good to hear because my nearest 3 are Brands Hatch, Thruxton, and Silverstone, and I just love them all. But they're all awesome tracks. They're all in a pretty small space, you could say. Like there's a lot of race tracks. I was going to say like there's probably got the most race tracks per mile in the world. It's got to have per it can't be far off.
It has to be. It can't be like I don't think there's anywhere else in the world that has that many racetracks that close to each other.
No.
Yeah.
I think it's because we're not wired right over here.
All those old airports turned into racetracks.
Well, it was like Thruxton and Silverstone were the 2, weren't they? They were the
2. Yeah, we used to test at a place. We used to test somewhere. There was an airport just to do like practice starts and
We've got Bedford and Buxford and a couple of others.
Yeah. Good on. Good. Lucky for World War I and World War II, huh?
Yeah, that's probably good for came out of it. That's the whole reason we did it. It's like
turn them into racetracks.
Think of the future. Rick, you mentioned about going to Allen Docking Racing. I had a quick look through some of their previous drivers, and you're in good company. You had like Rupert Keegan, Stephen South, Mika Salo, Mark Webber, your countryman, and Stefan Johansson. They all went through there. So pretty good. Pretty good bunch.
Robbie Kerr.
Yeah, Robbie. Yeah,
won the championship. What happened
Yeah.
to Robbie Kerr? He was a pretty good driver.
I don't know. Can anyone who's Googling, I guarantee Simon Steele, who's watching,
He
he's
must
going
race. I think I saw him race sports cars or something.
to be Googling it.
I remember
think
he
that
was.
rings a bell.
He was. I was there the year after him. He was a big name in the F3 circles.
Yeah.
Or the junior motorsport circles at that point because he beat James Courtney. Courtney had a nasty concussion actually, which really set him back. He would have been tough to beat otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. No, we'll see. I'm sure someone's going to put it in the comments. I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
It was around that time as well. You had your test, F1, the F1 test with Minardi.
Yes.
Someone did ask. I think it might have been Simon Steele again previously. Apologise. Just got a quick scroll. It was Simon. Did you get to test a Minardi at Misano, or did you do it elsewhere? Was it? It was Misano.
It was Misano. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, that's how the whole getting a ride with Trevor Carlin came about. That's how I actually got. I was done with my motorsport. Basically, I was done. I had nothing, and so I finished that British F3 season, stuck around in England because I had that Minardi test. I thought, well, see if I can get an F3000 test at that track to drive a car that's somewhat fast, but nothing compared to a Formula One, but something will give me experience on the track because getting an F1 test, you only get one chance at that, so you wanted to do your absolute best.
Yeah.
And I tested with Draco.
Because was it you and I remember there were like two Aussies.
Will Davison.
Will, it was Will, was it? Okay.
Yes, it was. Yeah. Yeah. So we were both. I want to say that was before the 2004 season. What's his name? Stoddard.
Paul Stoddard.
Paul Stoddard. Yeah, that's right. Paul Stoddard promised Will Davison and myself a test if we raced in British F3. I can't remember what the reason was, but we got a test. So we both tested that day. I did the F3000 test before it with Draco and learned that track. But yeah, the car was insane, I have to say. Like after doing Formula 3, just going out of the pits the first time you actually run it right up, like full throttle. I went out, I'm like, man, there's no shift lights, something wrong with the car. Then I realized this thing revs to like 18 grand.
Oh, okay.
It was like, what? Oh man, it was nuts. Wow. And then you hit the brakes for the first time. It just blows your mind. Just nuts. For someone out of Formula 3 to get in that thing, it just was an experience. It was just the acceleration and the braking was just insane. It wasn't necessarily a very fast track, so you didn't get to feel like the downforce level, but as far as accelerating and braking, it had traction control. So I actually remember thinking, how could anyone ever drive this thing without traction control? It's like that much power. Like how would you even drive it?
It just makes you think back to the guys we mentioned at the start, like in the 80s and before that with Mansell, and like Lauder and Mario and all the guys back then. Just think, geez, how on I mean, obviously you know better than I do about an F1 car, of course, but absolute beasts, weren't they?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was the end. That was the last year for the V10. So after that test, it's pretty much going back to V8s.
Right.
And also reducing downforce. But yeah, it was naturally aspirated engine. You had no turbo lag, nothing. It just that was a lot of. That was impressive. Very, very. Yeah, I think those cars were a lot of fun to race back then. I remember seeing a cool onboard of Montoya at Imola when they took the traction control away. And he was in the Williams, and just it was such a cool video. I don't know if you can find that on YouTube, but that video of Montoya just in practice, it has like you kind of get a good, just by the sound of the engine, you see how much wheel spin he had just trying to get that power down.
Wow, jeez, sounds cool. I mean, obviously at that time, I mean, were your eyes looking towards F1, or was it was that kind of, and had that always been the route that if you could have picked a perfect world, that's where you would have ended up.
Yeah, absolutely. I was trying to get to Formula One. I actually was never thinking of racing World Series by Renault, which at that time, was a big series. It was transitioning from World Series by Nissan to World Series by Renault, and Renault was doing that Renault Clio Cup, and obviously had the 2-liter Renault, and then they had the Megane Renault. So it was a whole series, and I believe it was all free admission to all those races. But I got that ride simply because I did that test with Draco at Mazzano in prep for the F1 test, and those guys didn't think much. They didn't even know who I was. They were testing 3 other guys for their World Series by Renault seat that day, and I was like a second quicker than those guys. And they were like, "Whoa, who's this guy?" So they gave me. They were really keen to have me after that, because I wasn't even testing for the seat. I was just testing to get some experience. They threw me in for a few laps. I paid, I think I paid like €2,000 for the test. Then I said, "Look, I got no money. I'm heading back because my work permit's running out in England. I have to head back to Australia. So, if you want to do something, let me know. But I don't have anything." They thought I was just playing the game of, he has money, but he's trying to negotiate a good deal. But literally, I had no money, so I just went back to Australia. And I thought, well, I'm going to go back to work. I was a canvas goods manufacturer by trade, which is making tents, car covers, seat cover, all sorts of stuff. It's on the sewing machine. So yeah, I was just thought, well, I'm going back to work. I think I had started back at work, and they called me like 2 weeks later at my house, my home phone. My dad's like, "Hey, so this guy's I can't remember the guy's name." He said, "Well, we got that test coming up. We'd really like you to come and test." I said, "Look, I really don't have any money. I can't do it. I'm sorry." So then they said, "Oh, all right, we'll test you for free. You just have to sign a contract with us." So I said, "Sure, I've got nothing to lose. Sign a contract. If you basically contract said if you went anywhere else, you have to pay £20,000. So I had nothing else, and I went over and I tested, and once again they just threw me in because they had drivers paying to do it, and I was the quickest in that session. I think Robert Kubica was there. He was quicker than me, but he'd been in the car all day. But so then I ended up with Carlin. It was a bit of a shit fight actually with all that stuff that went on because I couldn't get the funding for Draco, and then Mark Webber kind of helped me get a seat at Carlin, and I went from there. But yeah, that's how I ended up in World Series by Renault. It was
wow.
Quite a
still pretty
lucky. Yeah,
you need luck.
Did that happen?
You don't get anywhere without luck,
Lucky, just circumstance, being fast at the right time, and at the end of the day, just being quick. You got to be quick. I mean, that's simply it. I mean, if you're doing these tests and so on, and you're fast, people want you.
Yeah, sure. Obviously, you got involved with Carlin. Trevor Carlin, he can spot some talent when he sees it. So obviously, he got that right. You went into that season. You took a couple of wins and a couple of podiums, and on the front row in the WSR series, and that was all good. So obviously, pretty decent season, and you did the race. I think it was at Brands in the A1 GP, which was
I did, yes.
Came second. That was a decent little series while it ran. I always thought
that was pretty good. Yeah, it was interesting, that whole situation, because I was doing World Series by Renault, and there was a Champ Car team, which is basically IndyCar. The good Indy cars with the big power, big horsepower. You had the turbo engine, and it's like a 2.6 liter, I think. V8. But they were looking for an Australian driver for that Team Australia seat. So I can't remember if I'd signed with those guys or not. And they had me race. I didn't finish the World Series by Renault season because I'd signed to race Champ Car, and they wanted me to race the Gold Coast race, the Australian race, and miss the last 2 rounds of the World Series Championship. And in that period was A1GP was coming about, and it was also called Team Australia. And I ran for those guys at Brands Hatch. I think I tested for them at as myself and Will Davison tested for them at Paul Ricard at the official test there, and then I went on and raced at Brands Hatch, and what did I finish? 2nd and 4th, I think. I think I qualified 4th. There's 2 really good results.
Yeah. Then
the owner of Team Australia called me and said, "Hey, you can't." They were just happened to be watching TV and they saw me leading. I was fighting with Nelson Piquet, and they said, "You can't do that. We don't want you doing it." So I had to call those guys and tell them, "Sorry, I can't race."
Right. I had no idea that was the reason.
Yeah,
I was going to ask you, it was just one race,
they were all really disappointed, and I was too, because I was like, man, and you got paid to do that too, like pretty good money. I think it was like they give the driver 20 grand a race or something. It was actually really for me that was like huge. Yeah, but so I couldn't do it. I'd signed there, and that's how the whole IndyCar thing started. I was over there, and
they were
started racing Champ Car.
Was it with Walker Racing? Was it alongside those?
Yeah, it was with Walker Racing. Yeah. Derek was a very good team owner. Did a lot with a small budget, and had a great team. I was really lucky to drive for Derek. I thought they did a fantastic job. It was very professional. Of all the teams I've been to, Derek's right there with the best of them. Right there. I mean, he does a very good job.
No, excellent. Good to hear. So, I mean, I guess there was no hesitation when they mentioned about going out to what is now IndyCar and out to the States.
Yeah.
Was there any hesitation on your part? Was it just like, let's do it?
Well, it was either stick around after World Series by Renault and find another $1 million from somewhere to run GP2, or get paid to race IndyCar. So at some point you've just got to bite the bullet and say, right, I have to earn some money. I was kind of in debt at that time. I owed people money. I just had to. As disappointing as it was, Formula One is just so tough. It's so political and circumstantial of who your connections are. It was just going to be a tough road and more debt. Really, yeah. So that was the decision to make, the right thing to do.
Yeah, sure. What were your first thoughts when you got in the IndyCar? Was it it wasn't quite the wow factor of the F1, perhaps, or was it?
Yeah, it was actually. It was pretty. It wasn't much less power than the F1 car. It was pretty cool. It was just a bit heavier, but it was. I remember going down the back straight at Portland, pulling 7th gear or 6th. I can't remember 7th gear or 6th gear. It might have been 7th gear. I was just thinking, man, I could be paid to do this. It was a seriously fun car.
It was like, this will do. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just to get paid to race. Think about it. I'd basically spent my whole life finding money to race. Yeah. If someone wants to pay you to drive something like this, yep, I'll do it.
Yeah. Having the money going into the bank account rather than the other way.
Oh, yeah, man. Amazing.
Nice. Yeah, very cool. Obviously, I don't know if you know what happened here, but there was you signed a multi-year deal after a few races. I think. Well, firstly, I think you had a. Hang on, very good question, John Cavill. I hope that's right. I think he might.
Oh, John Cavill. Yeah, I know.
He did say something very nice about you earlier, which I'm gonna finish with. But he said, "Ask Will who was the PR lady at Walker Racing who you were not allowed to date."
Oh, well, yeah, John knows my girlfriend before. The PR girl that at Walker Racing is my wife now. That's her walking around.
Yeah.
So, Liz, my wife. But I actually was my girlfriend at the time when I was in England was Kerry Fenwick was the name. She worked for Mark Webber. That's how she had a lot to do with me getting, the funding to go race World Series. So, she helped me a lot in that respect. And John Cavill actually helped me when I was over there as well with just a car to drive around in, and became a friend of mine.
Yeah, nice one. What I was going to come to before John came in, but thank you, John. Nice one. I've got a note somewhere. I saw about the Indy 300. You had an incident with Alex Tagliani. I don't know if you remember.
Well, that was it was the first time.
Was
That
that
was
your
my
first
very first race in Champ Car.
Yeah,
Tagliani was one of the teammates, and
I
think Marcus Marshall raced that race as well.
Yeah, I was going to come to Marcus in a minute, but
yeah. So I was ahead of Alex. I don't know what happened to him. I actually qualified reasonably well. I think Tagliani was surprised at how well I qualified. He didn't expect me to be anywhere because it's such a beast of a thing to drive. It really took you half the season when you did a full-time season to get a handle on that car, just with the amount of power. And I always refer to it as a real brutal machine. Such a brutal, like, you had to just wring its neck as a real monster.
Yeah.
But and I think the team had asked me to let him go, so I thought I'll let him go on the back straight. He just got desperate and knocked the Team Australia car out, the Australian in the Team Australia car out of the Australian race. Yeah, no, not good for Tagliani.
Whoops.
Yeah, seriously.
Not good for team PR.
Yeah, nah. I'm friends with Alex now. I've been friends with him for a long time. I speak to him the other night, actually. But yeah, that was not good. So that ended that day for us. But yeah, what a great experience for a young guy who wants to be a race car driver, getting paid to race a champ car, man. Like, it's just fortunate, just lucky. I think it's just such a cool experience in every way. Just, man, something I took super seriously. Super, super seriously. Like, you kind of look back and wish you enjoyed it more, but it took that sort of commitment. It takes that sort of commitment and energy and time you must put into it. Otherwise, you simply won't be competitive.
No, of course. Yeah, sure. You got the multi-year deal. Now, there's a note about Marcus Marshall. The note is a severe breach of team something. Can you say what happened? Do you know what happened? He said there was something went on
with Marcus.
Apparently so.
That may have just been
maybe conjecture.
I think it was I don't know any of the details of what happened through, with contracts, but I think that basically they were trying to replace him with another driver. I mean, trying to get rid of him. Maybe I don't know. Yeah, I don't even remember any of that. But yeah, maybe that was. They found a breach or something, and that's how they got out of the contract. I actually don't know. I actually was pretty good friends with Marcus, and we'd known each other for years before that. We'd raced Formula Ford together, and so probably a bit of an awkward situation for me, but not really. I mean, I was a driver trying to make it, so he probably saw it as me replacing him. At the time, was maybe a bit pissed off, but I was simply trying to do my absolute best to become make racing my career, and we remained friends. Every time I went back to Australia, we'd catch up. I haven't seen him for a long time though. I haven't spoken to him for a long time now.
No, fair enough. Obviously, that was going into 2006. Did you have any expectations going into that first year? Or was it just a case of just give it your best and see where you end up, or did you think, right, I want to get X position?
I can't remember the expectation. I could almost guarantee I was thinking I need to win the Rookie of the Year. That was important. I think I really wanted. I think it was a 3-year deal. So maybe I felt a little bit comfortable, but I wasn't sure because there were times where they struggled to get the sponsorship, and it's looking like maybe we weren't going to race here and race there. So certainly the pressure was on to continually perform. If that thing fell over, that you might get picked up by someone else.
Right.
So there's always that extreme pressure there. And then the end of the year when I got a pole at my home race, that really helped.
Yeah.
And then the next year, obviously 07, I was very strong. But it was. I just can't remember there not being pressure on me. I've
Yeah.
never ever gone to a season where I'm not like just absolutely, got the pressure on myself, wanting to get the absolute most out of it, and win a championship and win races.
Yeah, no, fair one. And that first season, again, I did a bit of did a bit of digging, and you came fourth and fifth in Denver and Montreal, and first podium, for Mexico, which was obviously pretty good. It's a pretty solid first year. 2007, the opening round, Las Vegas, and you took the first win. Basically, smashed it out of the park. Was it? What was the feeling when you had that first win? Was it relief? Was it joy? Was it a bit of both? Was it just kind of, okay, I can win in these things? And
it was. It's probably a bit of like, what's next? Like I'd worked so hard in that off season.
Yeah.
I'd had the year experience in the cars, and I was very sure what I wanted from the car. And that was when I met Dave Festino as my engineer. And he is still my engineer at Penske.
Wow.
So I met him there in 07, and I remember him making the comment. He said, "I've never met a driver that wants to win more than he does." Because I was so obsessed, I was just there the whole time. I was at the shop the whole time, a lot of study and really, really working hard. So, that was a good start to the season. I thought, okay, we have a chance to contend for the championship here. So, I was driving at my absolute best that year. Absolute best. I was very fit. I was very focused. A lot of bit of an unfortunate year that we didn't finish better than. I think we finished fourth in the championship, but it should have been a lot better than that. Should have been a lot better than that.
Yeah,
because we had I want to say we started. I can't remember how many poles I had, but I think I started on the front row like 6 times.
It was a lot. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, or maybe it was 6 poles. I don't think it was 6. I started on pole a few times that year.
So it was obviously a strong season, and
maybe it was 6 poles.
Yeah. One that sticks in my mind of that year was Toronto, when the weather it just looked absolutely horrendous. I mean, you went from fourth to first, which doesn't sound that kind of fourth to first, but in the weather, I mean, that was a ballsy effort. I mean, because it was. I mean,
it was further back than that. I got a penalty in qualifying.
Right.
I think I remember, and because I held someone up, they penalised me, and then I had to sit out some of the session. And I got I remember that race. I was so pissed off about the penalty, and getting out qualified by a teammate and all that. Just at that stage of your career really gets to you. And I thought, in the race when it rained, I thought, right, now I'm going to make up for this. Yeah, going for it. I do remember my attitude in that race was full aggression. Yeah, and it worked. It paid off.
Yeah, I can remember watching it. Obviously, over here we didn't have the coverage of the IndyCar that we had in the last few years, but I remember it was on I recorded it somewhere and I watched it, and I think it was the first time that I was really sort of fully aware of you, in Champ Car and everything, and I remember thinking, this guy's out of his tree, because everyone was sort of taking it easy, but you were just, you could tell you were just lapping quicker, and you could see, and obviously we didn't know about about the penalty and everything in qualifying and all that, but I just remember thinking, wow, that was mad. How can someone be that much faster in those conditions? And you actually just annihilated it. It was impressive stuff.
It was that was a lot of determination, and all those years of racing in the rain in England. That's why Sato is so good in the wet. Sato is so good in the wet because he did so much racing over in England. Yeah, anyone who races in England, you do so much wet driving. You just get so good at it.
Yeah. I always find it amazing that the British Grand Prix is always held in good weather. I don't know how we
Yeah,
managed that.
I know. That is funny.
I got a sunburn. I got through 5.5 liters of water just watching the Grand Prix this year.
Yeah.
It was that hot. I don't know how we manage it.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Champ Car IRL merger back to IndyCar the following year. Was there any sort of doubt with your career, your seat, or anything because things were merging? And
yeah, definitely at that time
it was great for the fans,
was.
the merger, but I guess
Yeah, it was really. I was actually really disappointed. I was happy, and I was also like, kind of like, oh man, like I just got the hang of these cars. I really thought as a team, if we did another year with Derek Walker, we'd win the championship. And so then the Craig Gore, who was the funder for Team Australia, did a deal with Kevin Kalkoven, so I had to go to KV, which was also a good team. But the thing was, we got the car 2 weeks before the first race. We got one test day, and there was ovals, which I'd really never done. So it was a very tough season. It was the toughest season I've had in my IndyCar career. Very tight. It pretty much just about finished my career. It was just, Elio getting the getting arrested for tax evasion, and then a seat becoming available at Penske. Was that was lucky. Although I was talking to other IndyCar teams, so I was talking to Ryan Reinbold at the time, so I may have ended up there. But that was the time that I was speaking to Ross Stone about doing supercars. So it was very unsure time for me right then. I wasn't sure what was going to happen, which was really disappointing for me because I knew I had the potential to win a championship or absolutely win races. It just, with the merger happening and all that kind of, all those Champ Car teams went away and some IndyCar teams went away, but ultimately it was the best thing for the sport. And it was. I was glad I got that season, although it wasn't a good one, but it was enough for Roger Penske to go, let's give this guy a shot.
That's what I was going to come on to. Was it them that contacted you, or did you sort of go after them knocking at the door, or was it just?
I called Tim Cindric, and then he said he said, oh, all right. So they must have known who I was because they didn't they immediately had me fly up to meet Roger. So they
didn't say who.
They weren't like, no, we're not really looking for. Yeah, they were kind of like, oh, okay, well, first thing we're gonna do is get you up to Roger. So they showed me the list of drivers who they were considering, and I know at the time it was Marco Andretti and I think Oriol Servia was in there, and that was pretty good list. I want to say
maybe.
Was Weldon, was he free at that point? I don't think it was. Bourdais was one of them.
Oh, yeah.
Bourdais was one of them. It was a pretty list of drivers. You're like, oh, man, it's going to be tough.
Wow, yeah.
It's going to be tough. As far as them selecting me, of all people. But, they gave me a go. But I think some of it was I said to him, look, I don't care if it's not full-time, so I just want a foot in the door. Like that was kind of my attitude. I would give up a full-time ride with someone else just to get a foot in the door there and let them see what I can do.
Rather than trying to force it.
That was, I didn't really even ask about what I'd be paid or any of that. I don't know whether the other guys when they interviewed asked what they'd be paid, but Roger just told me what I'd be paid, and I said, oh yeah, that's really fair, that's great. And I think maybe Roger said, oh, this guy's not greedy or anything. He's just to accept what it is, and
you're just there to race rather than the other stuff.
Just there to race. That's all I cared about. Like, my attitude has always been to go for performance over money. Always. Like the rest will take care of itself. Like, even when you're well established, if there was somewhere where you're going to get paid a heap of money versus somewhere where you get paid just average money, but where you're getting average money was a car that could win, I would always take the car that could win. It's just, you just must. It just must. Like, because that's what it's all about. And you'll potentially end up earning more money anyway because you're going to win. But you gotta. I mean, who wants to just race in the middle of the pack and get paid a lot of money? I mean, just it's never have a chance to win. It's no. There's
If you're going
always
to
for
race,
me.
you've got to feel that buzz of the win, haven't you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You got to have a chance to win. Yeah. You got to work with people who has the same attitude that you have.
Yeah.
About motorsport, about performance, and about the effort and the attention to detail, all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a terrible loser. I'm exactly the same. I hate it.
Yeah, terrible loser. It's kind of funny when you watch.
They're gonna have to earn it.
It's actually like when I see terrible losers in any sport, you don't. A lot of people hate on them, but you get it. They put the work in. They hate it, and people who can just brush something off, and put on that act. I mean,
I can't do it.
Like why? Yeah, it's just not real.
Yeah.
I always just try to say it how it is. Something's pissed me off, and I thought I deserved to win or something. I'll say it, but it's just that's sport. It's humans. Competition is what I love more than anything. I like the competing more than the driving of the cars and anything else. And the competition of it is what makes it so good.
Yeah, absolutely. Fully agree. And even in F1, we've got the Verstappen v Hamilton thing at the moment, and everyone says, "Oh, as soon as he loses, he moans, and as soon as he loses, he moans." It's like, well, he wouldn't be human if he didn't.
I know it's kind of like disappointing.
I don't get it.
The internet and Twitter, like if you lose and you don't moan, it means you like there's something wrong with you, or you don't care about competition, or you don't have enough passion about it. You're like, oh yeah, whatever, I lost. That's just. I hate the computerized responses that we are, now that we're told that we have to give.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, when you give a real, true response, you get absolutely just pounded on social media. It's like, what do you guys want? Do you want me just to go, no, yeah, I'm really happy with the car, and I've got to thank my sponsor, and I've got to thank I mean, come on.
15th.
Yeah, or you get knocked out of the race by someone, and you say anything remotely bad about that person, or complain in any little bit of the way. Just he's a whiner, he's a whinger.
Like, no.
Oh my god! My brother's a stand-up comedian. He got his first taste of. He put something out. He got his first taste of haters on social media. He called me and was like, man, I'm getting pounded. I think the video he put out was like well over 1 million views.
Wow.
And he got pounded by a lot of people. I said, dude, you can't look at it. You cannot look at it. People behind a keyboard will say anything that they wouldn't say to your face. I mean, it's just, it's nuts. it's so... Yeah, you can't read it. You just can't. I don't read any of it. Don't even look at it.
Try and ignore it. Sweep it. But coming back to Team Penske. I mean, when they picked you, it must have felt awesome. Team Penske. I mean, they're probably the biggest name out there, aren't they, in IndyCar? Well, in North America, and obviously Roger. I mean, I haven't even dared contacting the team to try and get Roger on for a chat, because I'd probably just be sniveling, dribbling wreck, because he's just like. But I mean, it'd be great to get him on. I'm going to try and sort that, but good luck. But it must have been a very cool feeling to think, wow, I'm a Penske driver.
Oh, amazing! I remember the night. I'd actually gone to Disney World with my wife in between when I'd had that interview with Penske and when I would be heading back to Australia for Christmas. And I was just, I think we just resigned ourselves. It's not going to be me. They're not going to pick me, because it had been quite a while. And I told them when I was flying back to Australia. And so I thought, well, they haven't called me yet. My wife's asleep on the couch. and I get a call. I'm like, oh. And it's like, hello. It's like, hey, it's Tim Cindric and Roger Penske here. I'm clicking my fingers to my wife like, oh yeah, and I thought I probably thought they're going to tell me I didn't have it, but they told me. So look, we've decided we're going to give you the ride. I can't remember the exact conversation, but I was just like, super calm, but like dying
Inside,
inside. Yeah, because I didn't want to be screaming. I didn't know if they thought, because I'm pretty monotone, so I didn't know if they thought that I didn't appreciate it. But I was just like, oh yeah, no, awesome, yep, that's great to hear. And then put the phone down with my wife, like yeah, and then just I can't tell you the relief to know what I was doing at Christmas time the next year. I'd had so many years going into Christmas just stress, and you had something to totally aim for and be fit for and turn up, and nothing guaranteed, but it was a test. And obviously I was probably praying that Elio got taken away, because then I'd have a full-time ride. But no, it was very, oh man, yeah, it's just like you say. I mean, to get a call from Penske, and having been in the series for 3 years and knowing what that team was, man, what's a chance? I never thought that was going to be something at the end of 2008. Never thought in a million years there'd be a seat at Penske, but even if there was, that I'd get it. Very great feeling.
Well, I'll bet. I mean, I'm actually going to the Indy 500 in 2022. First time. I've been wanting to go since 1988 when Rick Mears won it, and I'm finally making it out there next year with a few guys.
Oof, I better win it. I will. I'll win it this year for you. Next year, 22.
Come on. Yes. I mean, you've got a contract with Penske. I'm going to be happy to get a T-shirt, in the shop, because we don't get them over here. So, no, absolutely, awesome team to join. Obviously, it was a pretty good start. You had was it 6th at St. Petersburg in your first race, and you took pole at Long Beach when Helio came back, and there was the extra car and all that. You took that win at Edmonton.
Yes.
Did it sort of feel different to win for Penske than to win elsewhere? Did you think, whoa?
I would say at that time, a win was more important than ever. To cement yourself as someone that can win would give you a great chance of maybe being full-time the next year. So I think that win, that was one of my best drives, and it almost went full green that race. And I actually took off. I was so used to saving fuel from Champ Car. I took off. I was just saving fuel, and I had a huge lead, and I came over the radio. The teammate, I still get reminded of that, and said, "Hey, just let me know when you guys want me to push." Because normally I was used to pushing at the end of a stint, and they all just started laughing. It was like, they didn't know what I meant. I was so used to doing that. Like, just let me know when you really want me to push hard. So I still had lots of time in hand there. And but anyway, it was a very important win. Important win to win that race, because then obviously not far down the next race, I broke my back.
I was going to say, I mean, you came to Sonoma, and on the back of that, I mean, I've actually been to Sonoma. I was on my honeymoon. We were out in Vegas, San Francisco. I went up to Napa, and I didn't really twig until I got there. I was like, Sonoma's nearby. It was like, it was just down the road. And I went in there. What a gorgeous circuit. I mean,
yeah.
But
great circuit. It's a pity.
Obviously, what happened? I mean, you had
the car. So I came over Crest. The car was stopped there, and the way you sit in an open wheel car, obviously your backside's facing forward, so it's massive compression fractures on multiple vertebrae and one broken vertebrae. So, airlifted out, and pretty much thinking this is it. That sucks, because I was having such a good run at Penske, won the last race. But they assured me that I'd be good. They said, look, maybe it's not full time, but we'll have something for you next year. So that gave me a lot of. That was even for them to do that. How cool was that? Like, oh man, to stick by me in that time, and then give me. I ended up being a full-time ride, which was what a dream come true.
Oh, yeah,
absolute dream come true.
Especially on the back of the incident at Sonoma as well. You must have thought, here we go, and wow.
I actually had some severe anxiety of whether I'd still be fast or not after a big accident like that.
I'm sure,
but I turned up, really determined to make a mark on that first year to ensure that I could be signed up for the next year, because I think it was just a 1-year deal at that point.
Yeah,
or
sure.
they had an option or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So bit of a fire in the belly.
Oh yeah.
You came back in 2010, all sort of fit and recovered, and again, you know, I said you got wins at Sao Paulo, St. Petersburg, fourth at Barber, third at Long Beach. Obviously, it was a good car. You know, obviously, you know, you had the pace. You still knew you could go quick, and you had the decent
Yeah.
car. And again, you had like 5 wins, 4 podiums, but you came second to Dario Franchitti. That must have been incredibly frustrating, especially with the end of the season at Homestead. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it was close, wasn't it? Going in there, and
It was. Yeah, we were actually leading
yeah,
going into that race. Yeah, we had a pretty big lead with the last 4 races were ovals. That was certainly my weakness at that time. I just didn't have the experience. Although it was, you know, the ovals were relatively easy because you were just wide open at most of those ovals. Not at Motegi, but I think in Motegi I finished third. I was on the podium. Dario finished second. That was a race, and then we had one more. It was Homestead. I can't remember the 2 previous ovals before that though. But yeah, I regret, you know, like my attitude being, if you know, at the halfway point, if I'm not in a position to win, I'm just going to absolutely go for it, which was still the wrong attitude. I mean, ultimately, you needed to be there right at the end, just in case something did happen. And I'd been running that high line all night. It was the only place to get my car to work. And there was about let's say it was maybe 1 foot of just dust and debris. Like that's how close I was running to the wall. And I just got like an inch of a wheel and it just sucked me to the wall and then damaged the suspension.
yeah,
Yeah, it was a good lesson. Just, you know, stay in it till the very end. You just don't know. You know,
yeah,
chances were Dario wasn't going to make a mistake, but I mean, it did go yellow, so it was restarts. You just don't know.
yeah.
So yeah, disappointing, you know, on one hand, but on the other hand, I was right there in the championship, and I had a chance to win it,
Yeah,
and that's a big change from the previous, you know, 4 years. So
yeah, and also coming back from the injury as well, and
and coming back from the injury, yeah, like considering the speed and the amount of poles and the amount of wins I got in those first 2 years, I should have won a championship. Yeah, first 2
yeah,
years full time for Penske. It should have been easy, but yeah, it didn't happen.
yeah,
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 even in 12, we got all the way to the end and it didn't happen. You know, we
yeah,
won plenty of races and just one of those things.
yeah. And I was going to just touch on 2011. It's pretty much a similar story to 2010. You know, second overall to Dario and the end at Kentucky and everything. But I mean, there were 3 things I just wanted to quickly like talk. Well, 2 things mainly. There was no penalty for Dario in Toronto. Now, I hate talking about penalties and retrospective
Yeah.
crap and all that stuff, but that one, that seemed to be a bit unfair, to be honest. I wasn't. I thought there
Yeah.
was enough in it at the time, and I guess you were pretty fed up with it as well.
Yeah, that was, oof, yeah.
Yeah.
Would have been interesting if that one had been the other way around.
Oh, good.
Been
Yeah.
very interesting
Yeah.
if that one had been the other way around. Yeah.
Mm.
No, that should have been a penalty.
I
His
thought
front
so.
wheel hit my back wheel and turned me around. Thing is, I kept going and I actually would have got back to him because we
Yeah.
were quick enough. But then Tagliani finished that job right off. He just died. I didn't realize he was behind me. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
things like that could have been managed a bit better if I had a spotter or I had, you know,
Sure.
the standard said, look, Tagliani's closing up. You know, I didn't realize it was Alex behind me, and it's, you know, I know it's his home race, and he just went for a big dive bomb. It just didn't work.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the damage in the points would have been that bad. I think I would have got back to Dario, and maybe I would have tried to pay him back. Who knows? They would have penalized me probably.
Yeah, they probably did. Yeah, look at it differently.
Yeah.
The other one that year, you've probably been asked about this all the time. New Hampshire, with the stewards. For those who may not know what happened there, because it's one of those split-second bits of video that everyone looks at and just sort of That's a little smile, because every driver in the world has wanted to do that. I'm sure.
That was well. It was an oval race, New Hampshire, and it had gone yellow. I can't remember if it went yellow because it had started raining or it went yellow because of a crash. But during the yellow, it started to spit and rain. And then, they came over the radio. Team came over and said, "Okay, we're going green in 2 laps." And every driver would have got that call from the stand, and every driver was on the radio saying, "What are you talking about? We got sprinkles." And on an oval, you cannot race in the rain. You cannot go green in the rain. It's too dangerous. Just the speeds that you do in those corners, and it's just cement walls on the outside. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
So we're all screaming on the radio. What we can't. Wasn't as polite as that. We're all screaming like, "What the? Why are we going?" Even the safety car driver said, "I've got sprinkles on the screen." And then sure enough, they go green. I think Danica spun in front of me. So I went out here. Then someone hit me, put me in the wall. I was really pissed off, like, at the unnecessary damage. Dario had crashed with Sato on a restart. So, Dario had the field lapped. He had that race. He was going to win it. He was gone. He was winning that race. He was clearly better than everyone by a long shot. Like, he was superior. And that was, Dario's strengths he's obviously a very good oval driver, but very good at getting the car right, which part of being an oval driver. So he had that one. We didn't have a very good car. We qualified way back there. We'd struggled. But I'd made my way up to 5th, and Dario was out. Like, what a turn of luck.
You're like,
he'd grown a big lead in the championship, and he was going to win that race, and then it was just going to be probably a lead that you couldn't track down. And it switched. He crashed. I was going to finish 4th. So then I got knocked out. So mad, I flipped off the race control. I didn't realize it was on national television.
It was funny. I'm not in the heat of the moment. That wasn't what you were going for, but But I said every driver at some point must have been thinking about doing that towards the stewards.
Well, a lot of people were pissed off at the unnecessary damage and everything that was called green. So when I finally got out of this, I left my transporter or whatever. I was leaving the track. The whole pit garage applauded me, which was nuts. But I think they all agreed, like, why did we do that? And people crashed. But they actually went back and recalled the results, and they went back they red flagged it, and they went back 2 laps. So I got my 4th or 5th place.
Right.
So I got those points, which was huge. And then from then on, I went on and just nailed that lead all the way down and passed Dario. It's such a big lead. I actually got ahead of him. Going into Kentucky, I was ahead of him in points. And then in Kentucky, there was another oval. I had such a lead. I had such a good car. I was gone. First pit stop, Anna Beatrice came out and drove into my side pod, ripped a hole in it. Because I was going to win that no matter what. Even if Beatrice had just hit my back tire and really didn't damage the bodywork, the car was so fast, I would have just driven to the front again. I would have driven to the front and driven away.
Right there, contact with Anna Beatrice.
That ruined that. But then obviously the next race was even terrible. Then was the Vegas thing where Weldon was killed, and it was just a horrible end to the year.
I was going to come to that. I mean, obviously, if we don't want to talk about it, that's fine. I spoke with Jai Hildebrand about it, and he was, you can see he was very upset with it. And obviously, over here, he's a British guy, just won the 500, and people had just started to hear about him because obviously he spent his career out in the States, and it wasn't that. I think with the footage of what happened at Vegas, I think a lot of people thought that he was you on the footage because you got fully airborne and everything. I think people assumed that those of you who don't, those who didn't watch the IndyCar thought, oh well, that must be Weldon because you were flying through. I mean, what was your take on what happened? Because you had nowhere to go, did you? I mean, it just happened.
I was terrified that we were racing there. Terrified. Like after practice, I was like, we should not be racing here with
JR
34
Hildebrand said
cars.
the same thing.
It's the most
Too
insane
fast.
formula as racing insane formula of racing. To everyone wide open, it's 3 wide, like 10 deep, in open wheel cars. Oh my god, it's just a stupid thing to be doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, just man, if you ever see that crash, it's
Oh,
just, I can't watch it, but
no,
most nuts thing ever.
no.
But yeah, just man, unfortunately, unbelievable how that all played out, and you know, the way that Dan ended up in that catch fence at that exact angle. I mean,
It's like a billion to one
yeah,
shot, but with
yeah,
the way
yeah, yeah,
it was, I
yeah,
guess there's always a
yeah,
chance.
yeah. Not good, not good. Anyone that saw the aftermath of that quit racing. I know Paul Tracy saw it. He stopped. Thomas
Yeah,
Schechter saw it. He stopped. I
yeah.
saw it. I unfortunately, yeah, and I kept going, but it caused me a lot of issues.
I'm sure it did.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I'm not
yeah,
going to dwell on
not
it for
good.
too long, but it looked bad enough
Yeah,
on TV.
yeah,
I remember watching it because obviously with the time difference, it was on at really late here, and I watched
yeah,
a bit of it, and I thought, oh, I'll just sort of tune in and see what the result was. You know, I'll find out in the morning, and the headline wasn't what I had expected, and yeah, awful, really awful.
yeah. Awful. Yeah, yeah. I ended up stopped in front of him, unfortunately. So I got just
Yeah,
yep. Not a. It's a very unfortunate thing. I know Susie. I know the kids.
yeah,
They race go karts now. And they're actually really, really good.
I saw recently. Yeah,
Yeah. Actually, I swapped a helmet with Susie, one of mine for one of Dan's. Actually, not long ago, when I got the kids to sign it and ride on it, I signed and rode on theirs, on
yeah.
mine to give to them as well.
No, lovely.
Yeah.
I know one of them has been signed up. Is it Andretti you signed up for? One of these junior packages. I think one of his boys has signed up for Andretti.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're good. They're good go karters. Yeah, they'll be actually out at the Supernat, so I'm going to in Vegas. The
Oh,
big
cool.
kart race. Yeah, coming up. Yeah,
Excellent.
they're yeah. Actually, it's at Vegas Speedway. Believe it
Oh,
or
is
not.
it?
Yeah, it's bloody nuts.
Yeah.
But it's a track they set up there. But yeah,
Oh, cool. No, good. Let's hope they go well. Just seeing a comment from
yeah,
Oliver Taylor, who's a big follower of the page. Evening, sir. He says Dan was a wonderful chap. Had the pleasure of meeting him a number of times early in his career. That day will live me for a long time. Same goes with the awful day we lost fellow Yorkshireman Justin Wilson. Was another one.
Justin Wilson was another one. That's just
Another freak incident. Just yeah,
yeah. I do actually. When I left that track, I just said to my wife, "I think I want to give this up. I don't
yeah,
want to do this anymore." I mean, it's just
sure.
because I knew Dan, I knew Justin, both lovely people, and yeah,
Yeah.
just unfortunate. Very, it's part of motorsport, but just
Yeah.
a lot of innovations came from both those incidents. Great innovations. Yeah.
Yeah, which is great. No, cool. I appreciate you mentioning that. We're going to move on. I don't want to talk about it any more than you do. So, no, cool. Just going to move forward a bit. Go through 2013. Ended strong. Fourth overall. Going into 2014. 2014, obviously, quite a good year. Did obviously you were always in like a competitive car with Penske, but did it feel different in 2014? Because you went out and won the first race, took podiums in 5 of the first 8 races. Did you think we can have this?
Yeah, I think the attitude was different because of how well I started that full-time ride with Penske and became a legitimate championship contender. I went into every year absolutely 100% thinking I have to win the championship. I can win the championship. That year, I just thought, I give up. I'm probably not going to win a championship. I'm just going to enjoy it and going to go for it.
Right.
Go for it every race. That was it. Yeah, I was always more relaxed. That was the attitude, and then it just all kind of fell in place.
Yeah.
I used my speed and came together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm just conscious of the time. I don't keep it too long. I mean, had a bit of a mid-season sort of slump. I guess there was a few results where you were finished a bit further back. Were you concerned at that point, or did you think this is going to come back my way?
There was actually a point, which was Toronto, where I thought, I've got to grab this by the horns. I got to, if I want this, I have to, not get in this slump. And I remember I fought with Cashinevers at that race and had a chance to pass him. And it was a pass that forced him out and pushed him into a kind of the wall because it was still wet. Restarts sort of wet, and I just went for it. And that was kind of a defining moment of, if you want to win this championship, you have to start finishing ahead of this guy.
You've got to go and win it, type thing.
Yeah. And that was the start of a bit of a roll.
Yeah. Excuse me. And, you had, and then I think quite late on, was it 3 from the end? You had to win at Milwaukee, which obviously, back up in the hunt. Also, going to Fontana, final round, it was you, Juan Pablo Montoya, Scott Dixon, and was it you and Helio, wasn't it, in the little battle there? Were you aware that Montoya and Dixon had gone out for various reasons with spin and damage and stuff? Oh, hang on. I think we've lost Will. I think he's pressed the wrong button. Anyway, guys, we are going to... Oh, hang on, we're back. I'm going to press the button. Hang on a second.
It's funny. A phone call came in and it actually stopped the streaming. It's weird. Yeah.
Old school internet. This is the dial-up.
Yeah.
But yeah, and obviously, just rattling through that last race at Fontana, obviously, Scott Dixon and Juan Pablo Montoya were out early, and I guess you were aware of that. You were told. And then was it Helio had an issue with his pit stop, incorrect pit entry, and he was penalised and all that? When that happened, did you think, crikey, I'm gonna win this, or did you allow yourself to think that?
Basically, so I screwed up in qualifying. I had a big moment in qualifying, so I qualified last, and I had to make my way up through the field. And it wasn't easy. It was actually, I thought it'd be easier, but it was a 1-lane track. Everyone was running the top. And finally, there was a restart, and I was restarting. I think I was restarting behind Elio, and I thought, I cannot screw this restart up because this could end it all. Like if I got shuffled way back, so I was super aggressive on the restart. Got a great restart. Actually passed everyone, got to the lead, and led the race. So then I would have got a point for leading the race, and then also at that point, it got Elio. Elio suddenly realized that he was losing the championship, and he pushed really hard on the in-lap on the apron and went up. He had that attitude that I had in 2010 where nothing to lose, which still isn't the right one. He went up over the line. That's an immediate drive through. If you come back up on the track on an oval, you're an immediate drive through, and that's what he got. If he'd hung in there, it may have been a different story because I kind of floated. After that, I did float back. I floated back to like P9 or something. Yeah. Just being conservative. But yeah, that would have kept the pressure on me if Elio had not done that. It certainly would have kept the pressure on. But ultimately, I just think I had to finish around him or a certain amount of spots behind him to win it. But that was still never easy. Never easy.
Yeah.
It's stressful. I'd been there before where I was leading a championship and it had all gone away.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah.
But obviously it came right at the end and, you finished 9th and took the championship. And
yeah.
Did it feel like the first win, but like magnified, was it like, I'm the champion? Joy? You must have gone nuts in the helmet.
I tell you, I was so mentally drained. I couldn't really... You couldn't celebrate. I was so mentally drained. I was just so relieved and mentally drained when I finished that race. Like, oh my God, finally. And it was like a 500 miler, I believe. It was a long race. And on ovals and those long races, it just drains you mentally. So I didn't have much energy or passion left.
It was just
yeah.
Like a slump, but no, I mean you're the IndyCar champion. I mean it's not bad, is it? I mean
it was a good feeling. I would love to win another one, I really would.
Because you
I've
come
been
second.
I've been
Was it the previous 3 years you come second?
I
For
finished second in 10, 11, 12, 13. I think I had a really bad year and I
I've
finished
got
like
fourth. I don't know.
fourth or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, 114. Then I think it's 15. Was I second again or third?
50, something. Yeah.
16 probably. 15. I was 16. I was second again.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of seconds.
Yeah. It just seems to be. I've always reminded of things that happen, and it doesn't ever seem to be sort of down to you. It's sort of stuff that kind of happens to you, like the Anna Beatrice thing. I mean, obviously, I grew up watching Nigel Mansell here
Yeah,
in the UK, and he was one of the same kind of guy, always
yeah,
up there, always right attitude, race,
yeah.
proper racer. But stuff happened to him, like the tire blowing up in '86 and the crash
Yes,
in Zuka in
yes,
'87, and then
yes.
all this other stuff going on. And you probably don't want to hear this, but I kind of liken that to you. You're always there, and then
It is
someone does something
nuts.
stupid or
It is
some crap happens.
unbelievable. Some of the things that
It,
have cost me,
yeah,
unbelievable. But you
yeah,
can't blame it on pure luck. I mean, maybe it's a product of my personality, and the whole thing, and the whole makeup of the team, or you don't know. Like, that's the way it is for me, and that's how it goes. And I've tried everything, and I self-reflect a lot on mistakes I make and reasons why this happens. And yeah, it is just blows my mind some of the things that do go wrong.
yeah,
Even
yeah,
this last year, same thing.
yeah.
Even it still happens. Like in 2020, I was driving the best I think I had in my whole career, and we gave up so many wins. It's just strange, just unbelievable things. And yeah, it's just I don't know. I don't believe me. I have racked my brain. I've really self-reflected and tried to understand what it is, which you do. Like I said, you gotta. It's a very fine balance on all that stuff. But yeah, we've
Yeah,
had some weird things go wrong. Very,
yeah.
very strange circumstances that have
You
cost me a
think,
lot
what
of
the hell?
points. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But that's me. That's everyone has their own track in life. Everyone has their own journey, and that seems to be mine. But I'm
Yeah.
so fortunate to do what I do.
Sure.
So
Sure.
fortunate to be doing what I do and get paid for it. Just fortunate, like it's just nothing bad about it in any way.
Yeah.
I mean, can't
Absolutely.
complain at all.
No, sure, sure. I mean, I'm going to skip over a few bits because, again, conscious of the time, don't want to keep it too long. I know you've got stuff to do, but better stuff. 2018 Indy 500. Now, again, anyone who's tuned into this thing knows that I always shoehorn the Indy 500 in there somewhere, even if it's got nothing to do with who I'm talking to, because
Yeah.
I've been obsessed with it since about 1988, as I said, and I've always wanted to go and stuff. But um, obviously, 2018, you won it. Did it feel different going into that year, or is the 500 just completely unique every year for a driver going into it?
I actually remember thinking it's a good year for me because it's a new car, new package,
Yeah.
low downforce. So there's a good chance for us to win it. I remember having that thought. And yeah, I think I was pretty relaxed. I think I was actually, I think I remember being pretty relaxed at that time. And
Yeah.
I was sort of disappointed in my career. Did say that to my wife before. I've been pretty disappointed in my career with the
Right.
potential that I had.
Right.
You think about how many poles and win. You go from the decade of 2010, that 10 years to 2019, it's 10 years. I won more races than anyone, more poles than anyone, more
Yeah.
laps led than anyone, but only one championship. So I was pretty disappointed in how my career had gone, considering the potential that I had and the
Right.
team that I drove for. And so, yeah, that turned into a fantastic month for me, like, because I was actually thinking, I may finish my career with just one championship and not winning a 500. And you're not really recognized as a successful driver in IndyCar unless you win a 500
Mm.
and a championship. So huge relief, huge relief
Oh,
to
yeah.
get that. Huge relief.
Oh,
As far as just satisfaction for my career. If I did nothing else after that point, I would have pretty good satisfaction, like pretty satisfied with what I had done.
Yeah, and I think it's probably the only race that outweighs the season in any series ever, anywhere. You know, it's like an F1. If you win the Monaco Grand Prix, okay, great, well done. You know, wow, that's a cool prestige thing. But people would take an F1 title over like a Monaco win, I'm sure.
Yes.
But,
people would take in IndyCar. People would take an Indy 500 win over the championship.
Well,
pretty much. That wasn't the case for me until it wasn't the case for me always. That I would much rather have won a championship just because what it takes to win a championship versus what it takes to win a 500. 500 is a very tough race to win, but you can get lucky and win it. You can't really get lucky and win a championship.
Yeah, you have to.
Can't really. You really, for the most part, the person who wins it usually is a deserving winner. And if he's not, he's at least second. He's right there. But
he's not fifth.
But when you see the Indy 500 for the event that it is and the history that it has,
and I guess all the
prestige,
it's such a huge event for the fans.
It's just like nothing you've ever seen. You only appreciate it when you've raced it or been there on race day. It's just nuts to have that many people in one spot.
I can't wait. I'm so excited. But you know, there's always that caveat with Michael Andretti, isn't it? I mean, he's won championships, he's won loads of races, he's done all this stuff. Yeah. There's always like, didn't win the 500, which is really unfair given the career he had.
And he led it so many times.
Was it 92 was the one, wasn't it?
And Michael was a fantastic oval driver too. It's kind of a travesty he didn't ever win that race. You know, it's just for him.
I think hasn't he led the most laps without ever winning it or something, isn't it? Something like that.
Yeah, for sure. That would be him. Yeah.
Unbelievable. This is the Andretti luck, which Mario hates the phrase. He hates people saying that. He doesn't believe it.
At that place, Yeah, out of all the Andrettis that have raced there and raced there competitively for Mario, there's only one win in the family. It's nuts.
Ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's crazy. But just quickly come back to 18. When you qualified on the outside of the front row, people often say that's the best place to be. Would you agree, or do you just want to get
start's not big. I think if you're in that top 10, you know, you're in the mix. It's such a long race. You know, you're certainly starting back where I started the last couple of years in the 20s. It's not a good spot. Or 30s was I this year? I think it was in the 30s this year. Almost didn't make it. It's crazy. Unbelievable. Like in that experience in itself was pretty cool. It was a pretty good experience to experience bump day. Bump day when you're just making it. When you're not like you have to take a risk to make it. Like you may not make the race. I mean, that in itself is that was like I was more happy doing qualifying for the race this year just to get in than I was when I've qualified on the front row.
Wow.
And not got part. I was like, actually, we kind of celebrated as a team. We made the race. Was just showed you the appreciation you got for it. Like, you know, you're not just guaranteed that you're going to make the race.
And because you caught the wall this year, didn't you? This time you caught the wall on one.
Well, to make it, I did.
Yeah.
To actually make it, I actually didn't want to lift. My foot was shaking on the throttle, but you know, I'd gone a bit too aggressive on the trim and car was loose. And oh man, I could hardly put lock in it on the way in. I was like scared to put lock in because it was just so positive.
Wow.
And I floated wide. I missed the apex. It's just like I can't lift because if I do, we may not make the race. But on the other hand, if just a tiny bit more into that wall and that's game over as well. That's really game over. You've damaged the car. You ain't getting out again. Like, oh man. Then to go into 3 and 4, the next, turn 3 and 4, wide open, just praying that the thing won't break. And it'd already been loose and it towed the rear wheel out even more, man.
Wow.
Nuts when I got across the line. I was just like, oh my God.
Then you
sit and wait. Then you sit and wait for other people to go and to see if they knock you off. But yeah, pretty intense. Pretty intense. Wow. But a good experience. good experience. It gives you a lot of appreciation for the place.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I can remember sitting watching the qualifying, and when obviously that happened, I just went, Jesus, of course, willpower could miss out, but obviously you got it, and which was great. But yeah, amazing. Just go back to 18 very quickly. The end of 18, obviously you ran pretty well all race, and there was a yellow quite late on, 5, 6, 7 laps to go.
Yep. So it was we were from about 250. I mean, we were in great shape to win that. There was those guys that stayed out that had to save a lot of fuel, but they were never going to make it. The only thing that was going to help them make it was a yellow. So they were taking a big gamble. They got that yellow, but even that wasn't enough for them to make it. So it shows how short they were on fuel.
Yeah.
And I think I would have got those guys anyway, because we had such a good car that day, and but it would have made for a much more exciting finish had they not pulled off for the pit.
It would have been fun,
it would have been fun. It would have been fun,
fun for the neutral, I suppose. But I guess because it was it Oriol Servia and
I got Oriol, then it was Jack Harvey, which I was getting a run on, and then Stefan Wilson. There's two British guys in front of me.
I know. I've got to be honest. I'm sorry. I was wanting them to win. Sorry.
Oh no, sure, yeah. Those guys. Let's say it had gone yellow like a lap before, it would have been interesting to see if they probably couldn't even have made it under yellow, because they stopped how many laps from the end? Because I don't think because you don't. It's not half the amount of fuel you get. I think you get another. We've done the math, to know what we get under yellow, but I think you get another half lap for every lap. I think is what the math is. If you go under yellow, you get another whole half lap of fuel.
Wow.
So maybe they wouldn't have made it under yellow. But if you were them, though, you would have just been coasting, switching off, or I don't know if you can't do that in the Chevy engine. With the Honda engines, you can. So they may have made it. If it had gone yellow the lap before, with 4 to go, but then they've got a whole 4 laps to make on 1 lap of fuel.
It's still
but they could, they needed to go yellow multiple times on restarts, and they would have won the race.
Yeah,
they needed like a lot of luck, basically.
But I mean, obviously you go back racing and they peel off into the pits, and when do you start thinking, or do you let yourself think, I'm going to win the Indy 500?
When they peeled off, I was thinking,
you were like,
it was 3 to go or something. I'm like, oh man, I cannot believe this is going to happen. I could not believe it. I could not. Like, it's just a surreal. When you built something up so big in your mind, and it's been on you, niggling at you for a decade.
Yeah,
I can tell you, it was just for the rest of that year, it was just a fantastic year all around.
Yeah.
Like for the rest of that year,
because everything just exploded afterwards.
Oh, and everything that goes with it. Just what a great! I would love to win another Indy 500 or another championship or both. Could you imagine? Just a fantastic feeling. Yeah, it can happen, man.
We'll be on the outside of turn 4. We'll be there doing it.
Yeah. Now I'll invite you to the party.
That's been recorded. I'm holding.
If I win it, I promise you that you'll come to the party. I'll get you the tickets to the driver's party.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well up for that. But I mean, obviously, we all heard that when you cross the line. I mean, when you cross the line, what do you think? It's like, I've done it.
Oh man.
It must be the most unreal feeling.
Oh, it's something you've worked your whole life for almost, and just like a very, very satisfying feeling of accomplishment. I mean, just any time you achieve something that you've set out to do, and it's been a very hard road and tough to do, and it's taken a long time, and the size of that event and the prestige of it, just you can't. There's so many things that go with that. It's something that you'll be known as for the rest of your life as an Indy 500 winner, which is just many things are just great about achieving that.
Yeah, what a cool thing! It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. What milk did you have? I always wanted.
I always put chocolate milk, but didn't get chocolate milk. I
They
don't
didn't
think
go
they'd
with it.
like the chocolate milk there. They wanted
Yeah, I
to
guess
be, yeah.
they need the
Oh
crisp
man,
white.
it wasn't. Yeah, I didn't care what milk it was. I got it and
Yeah,
drank it. But
whatever.
I want like I don't think they allow you to put chocolate milk anymore. You used to. I remember you used to check chocolate milk. I would have taken chocolate milk.
That would have been
You
cool.
should taste the chocolate milk they get because they bring it round to the teams over the month. You get chocolate milk, and you can certainly put some weight on. It tastes good.
Oh goodness! Ah, brilliant! Wow. I mean, I'm excited just to go, just to win the thing. My God,
Yeah.
brilliant. I was going to sort of zap forward into the last year that we've just had very, very quickly. Obviously, a very frustrating year. The issues that happened, you hit both teammates at Nashville. That was a mental race. I mean, just watching it from the UK, I was like, how can you stop 7 times, get launched into the air, and still win? I mean, Ericsson.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
was pretty crazy, huh?
just
Oh my
bonkers. We
God.
were watching it, going, what is going on?
That's the problem when you race your teammates. You're not sure if he's letting you go or he's,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? A bit of confusion there. I felt
yeah,
bad. The one with Simon was I was legitimately beside him and he squeezed me very tight to the wall. I didn't want to hit him. Like I was either he had squeezed me so tight. If I hit the wall, it would have bounced into him and totally put him in the wall. Or yeah, it was not that one I couldn't do anything about. But yeah, the one with McLaughlin, it's like he'd left to I was like, is he letting me go because I had new tires and he didn't? Yeah. Anyway, misunderstanding that was bad.
it happens.
Yeah, yeah.
Just very quickly, something that obviously people remember from the season, but you probably won't want to. Apologies. Was it Detroit? I mean, that was one almighty cock up, basically.
Brutal.
Because social media lit up when you were on TV and you said what you'd said, and again, it was the whinging and that kind of response that people were doing, like you,
Yeah.
with your brother and stuff. And I was just sitting there thinking, I mean, obviously with the page, I've got to be neutral and say, oh well, yeah, you can kind of see. Personally, I was sitting there thinking, he's right. He's absolutely right. This is ridiculous.
Who wouldn't be pissed off about that? What sort of person would get on the camera and go, well, I was pretty happy they threw the red and I was pretty happy the car didn't start. And I was like steaming hot. Like it was unbearably hot. And I'd worked so hard to keep Ericsson behind. I thought, I am not losing this race. I've worked too hard for it.
Yeah. It's
and
a tough
like
as well.
For anyone to be like, to go on the computer spiel, like, I mean, the robot spiel in front of the camera at that point, you don't care about competing. Like you'd have to be like, Rocky just go, it's all good.
Oh, never
Everyone
mind.
did a good job. I'm really happy that I got to compete today. And it's like, it didn't matter what I said. I was going to be mad no matter what. No one really did anything wrong. I mean, it was just, man, I worked my backside off, and we just lost a race with 5 laps to go, sitting in the pits.
Yeah, because you had to wait for the last car, didn't you?
As hard as it is to win an IndyCar these days, when you give up a race, I mean, it's just it's brutal. Yeah. It's brutal, and I will from now on just be the total computer and just go, I'm pretty happy with all this.
Smile and wave.
And I will say at the end of it, say, you know what, I'm doing this computer sort of response for the fans because they don't want to hear any whining. So totally happy with everything that happened. Thank the sponsors. Just say, this is for the fans, the people that don't want any whiners. This is the response you're going to get from every driver from now on. No one will ever complain again. And then they'll complain about there's no one who's got a personality now.
Yeah.
It's probably not that many people. It's just a few people that like to get on.
That you were taking the mick,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was a ridiculous situation. That was ridiculous.
It was upsetting. That was upsetting for a while.
Yeah.
So even though I complained and whined, I was upset for a while about that. Like, I hate giving up wins.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
But that's racing. It's racing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of gears that have got to go, a lot of mechanisms that have got to go right for it to all come together for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Just going to wind it down very quickly. Just I'm just like looking ahead. Happy with Penske 2022, all going okay. Pre-season going all right?
Oh yeah. No, we're good. We're good.
Excellent.
Should be. Yep. Sitting down with the engineer, going through all the races, and trying to work out how we can be better.
Awesome, fantastic. Obviously, you got the captain. He now owns. He owns everything. It's a pretty cool boss to have.
He's very busy. Very busy.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah, it's amazing for his age what he does.
Oh, what a legend! Amazing guy.
Yeah.
Very quickly, a few words on Mr. Grosjean. Obviously, he's come over and taken the whole thing by storm after what he went through about a year ago. He seems happy. He seems happy with everything in IndyCar. He seems to have taken to it.
Yeah, I think he's enjoying the fact that he can go and he has a chance to win week in, week out.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of IndyCar. Everyone's got the same stuff and the same chance. So it's anyone who's been running in the middle of the field or the second half of the field that's a top driver and has worked their backside off to be in that position would certainly enjoy the fact that they can go out and now have a chance to win.
Yeah, definitely. And he's far better than the last couple of years in F1 have proved. He's a top driver.
Yeah.
Just very quickly, your teammate Scott McLaughlin. He's excuse me, and he's done well coming out of supercars into a single seat. It's been it's pretty good. We've got the rookie of the year, and he's done well, hasn't he?
He's I mean he's supercars is a very competitive series, so he's very experienced at a high level, but it's a big change from what he was doing. So I think he's done as good as you could expect. Like, he's done a very good job.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think he'll come back next year after having an off season to think about it and be definitely stronger.
Yeah, cool. And you just got to look at how difficult it's been for Jimmy Johnson going from the NASCAR into IndyCar, and he's.
Oh yeah, that would even be tougher for his age
and
the amount how long he's done NASCAR for. Yeah. Big ask.
Yeah, very cool. A few very little, a few little quick things. Someone did say, would you consider doing the 24 Hours of Le Mans? Is that something you'd like to do at some point?
Yes, definitely. Would like to do that. And after whenever the schedules and all that come together and it's the right time, for sure.
Yeah, awesome, very cool. Very quickly, best car you've ever driven on a track?
I would say, the Minardi F1 was obviously, blew me away, but the 2007 Champ car was a really good power to weight to tire ratio to downforce. Yeah. That whole package was a really cool car to drive.
Yeah. Cool. Cool one. Okay, two more. Best circuit you've ever driven. Best track.
It's got to be Bathurst. I mean, Bathurst is anyone who drives there would say the same thing. There's nothing like it.
Yeah, I just love it. Excellent. It's a good way to finish because everyone loves Bathurst. I just want to say, if I got this correct, you've got the second most poles of all time, and you're going after Mario Andretti's record, I believe. Apparently, that's and you're in the top 5 of all time IndyCar wins. It's pretty good. Nice little things alongside the championship and the 500 and all that. So
yeah. I look back on my career and I would be, if I did no more from here on, I'd be happy. I'd be satisfied with it. I've had a very fortunate to drive for the team that I've driven for and had the opportunity to win that many races and have a championship in the 500. I mean, I look back at it and I'm just very fortunate to have had the chance I've had.
Yeah, fantastic. Love it. Right, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's tuned in, for all the questions, all the comments, and everyone. Hope we covered everything. And also, thank you very much, Will, for coming and having a chat. It's been 2 hours. It always drags on longer than I expect, so I do apologize.
This has been 2 hours.
I know. I wasn't expecting it.
It's a long time.
Yeah, but thank you very, very much for sticking with us and having a chat. It's been absolutely brilliant talking to you. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you for having me on.
No, brilliant. And obviously all the best for 2022. And if I see you at the 500, then I'm going to come running over.
yeah, please do.
Fantastic.
I'll have my security will probably escort you out, but at least you saw me. No,
I feel like
just kidding. Imagine
Great
having
stuff.
security, huh? Mario Andretti had security back in the day, so he was
Well, there you
no
go.
wonder.
No, you need it.
Yeah.
No,
Cool,
brilliant.
man. Well,
Great
all
stuff.
right. Thank you.
Thanks very much, guys. Thanks,
Sure.
everyone. And we'll see you soon.